particularly with regard to some of these initiatives, like as the one involving DO. I am of the opinion that it is of the utmost need to concentrate on the infrastructure that they are constructing. DO is a very unique initiative, simply because to the fact that it is offering an opportunity not only for cryptocurrency players, but also for institutional players and players that trade 5 currency pairs. At the moment, when we give some serious consideration to a few of the tokenization systems that are now available in the market, there are a lot of people that have a tendency to talk about things like Securitize, for instance, or even Franklin Templeton, and a few other companies like Wisdom Tree. On the other hand, when we consider tokenization platforms, DO ought to be on everyone's radar. This is not because of the money that is associated with it. Rather, it is because of the amount of traction that DO has produced for itself over the course of only the past year. In the event that we are discussing monetary matters, it is worth noting that the tokenization platform sector of this industry now has around $12.5 billion in total RWA value associated with them. In reality, DO is the 3rd most valuable cryptocurrency, and although there are only 2 RWA assets available on the platform, it has approximately $1.3 billion in value. This is a pretty substantial sum of money. Indeed, it accounts for 11.2% of the total market share of RWA. Both Securitize and Tradable are examples of platforms that we find ourselves unable to invest in. We are unable to make an investment in them. 3rd place goes to DO, which has more than 11%. Additionally, it is worth noting that there are approximately 15,500 or more RWA holders of DO. Moreover, I am not referring to DO in and of itself. In this context, I am referring to the underlying assets that are connected to it. Additionally, if we take a look at the holdings, we can see that this is merely an increase of around 1.63%. On the other hand, the most important item that I am in fact looking at is the overall value over the past 30 days. This is an increase of 14.63%, which is over 15%. In addition, we are able to observe that significant increase from the beginning of May to the current point in time. As of the beginning of May, it was around $1 billion. That brings us to a total of more than $2.58 billion. Observing anything like this is quite fascinating. Now, when we also think about that, this is the DO RWA league table as well, which, by the way, investing into some of these projects as well will be very profitable because it is tied back to DO. Because the networks in which DO is releasing some of these things, like for example US Treasuries, we could see the amounts of money on these networks, and we could actually invest in these underlying networks as well, and get exposure to not just DO, but these other networks in which DO is working with. The reason I have stated in the past that XRP is going to be connected to DO is also because of this thing. There is going to be a connection between these two, and I will explain just why in a moment. Let's begin with DO though, since I want to speak about the chart, but first let's talk about DO. This is a significant increase when we consider the whole value of DO for the past 30 days, which is the case right now. When it comes to the chart, it is not something that is true. We have really experienced a big decrease in terms of the price that we have imposed onto ourselves. You know, if we think about the real amount, let's actually go back to just the middle of May when we had this beautiful jump to like $13. We are down approximately $13. As of right now, we have lost around 32%, which is almost 33%. It is around 25 to 26%. But I want to genuinely concentrate on this because I want to concentrate on the macro perspective, which is the long-term perspective. And the macro runs all the way back to March of 2024 when we have this first initial setup in which we have this lovely rise to the upside. This is where the macro begins. The macro trend line has been reached. Then, as you can expect, we begin to sell off into the month of March and the summers. From this point on, we have a lovely little chop here. I should mention that all of this is consolidation in an upward trend. Then in December, we have that significant increase. At this moment, we are selling off once again. Additionally, as you can see, we are carrying out an activity that is really comparable to this region in which we have, a chop. To put it another way, if this is going to be our lowest point, then we are in a downward spiral. In legal terms, we have a lower low and a higher lower low. Currently, we have reached higher highs. This high is higher than the highs that were made in April. This structure is bullish in nature. This low should be our higher low setup for DO, where we start to chop in a nice uptrend, very similar to this, point back here, and then we finally break out. The confirmation of the breakout will be above these highs, but also above this trend line. This should take us to these December highs, and we should technically hit about $3 from this point. Now, I'm not saying $3 is going to be the topping point. While I'm only thinking about this from a logical standpoint, I've come to the conclusion that the next stopping point ought to be somewhere around $3 or $2 and approximately 80 more cents, very comparable to the lows that are found down here. So DO has a good setup here, and we are back to prices that we haven't really seen or been able to buy at before. This is something that we just wanted to mention. Evidently, this year has been one of the years in which we have experienced some of these lows. On the other hand, you should consider it in this manner. Today, we have returned to the heights that we reached in March of 2024. At this point, we have returned to the levels that we reached at the beginning of November, prior to the significant increase that brought the price to over $2.14 or 15.50 cents. Consequently, we are currently in a position where we have a huge opportunity level on Ondo at a time when the RWA value surrounding it is expanding considerably. Since March, the volume of Ondo has been increasing. Additionally, it is quite encouraging to see this, since it indicates that we are beginning to observe inflows into Ondo. Additionally, as a result of the increase in volume, we are beginning to observe the purchase of Ondo. In addition to this, is that correct? As the volume increases, the value also rises. This demonstrates to us that Ondo is still alive and well. On the contrary, there are a lot of people keeping an eye on Ondo, and a significant amount of money is coming in. Seeing this is quite exciting, and I do believe that this is just the beginning for Ondo, because I believe that the long-term perspective around Ondo is that this will probably be one of the most useful crypto products around the TradFi side in terms of bringing Wall Street on chain. This is because I believe that Ondo is just getting started. On the other hand, I believe that this cycle is going to be a behemoth because the RWA story is going to be so enormous. But aside from this, let's really speak about a couple other topics at this point. First of all, we had a conversation with JP Morgan and Chainlink not too long ago regarding this significant step. In the event that you did not watch the video, you may have missed it. Absolutely, you are aware of the fact that you are already aware of how large this is. If on the other hand you did not see it, I believe that you should all go and watch it. This is an exceptional move. On top of this, however, we did hear from Nathan, the CEO of Ondo Finance, about this significant step that we have, who stated that tokenized US treasuries are only available to customers who are native to the distributed finance ecosystem. The Chief Executive Officer of Ondo Finance participated on NYSE Live to make a presentation about our partnership with JP Morgan and Chainlink to include bank payments rails into the Ondo chain. In the most recent transaction that Ondo has completed with JP Morgan, it is demonstrated that deposit holders at JP Morgan have the ability to readily access Ondo's tokenized treasuries and other tokenized goods. Ondo tokenization designed with the general public in mind. Take a look at this. You should know that we recently made an announcement on a transaction in which an investor subscribed to the tokenized treasuries that we provide on public blockchains by using tokenized bank deposits from JP Morgan. These tokenized treasuries give investors the opportunity to earn a dividend on their investments while also enabling them to move capital throughout the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, peer-to-peer. We also offer conversions between tokenized treasuries and stablecoins throughout the clock, 7 days a week. This is a product that has garnered a lot of interest, primarily to those who are native to the cryptocurrency industry, as well as investors who come from stable currencies and want access to treasuries. Nevertheless, up until this point, the product has been mostly unavailable, or its benefits have been inaccessible to investors who are not from the cryptocurrency sector and who do not already possess stable currencies. For instance, those who hold bank savings at JP Morgan are a good illustration. As a result, once this is put into production, it will make it possible for deposit holders at JP Morgan, who may not already be holding stablecoins or have cryptocurrency wallets, to very easily subscribe to our tokenized treasuries or tokenized products from us or others more generally. This will be possible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and over the course of the weekend. On the other hand, if we give Ando's actions any serious consideration, then this is exactly what I stated. In addition, Ando is driving Wall Street to its knees. All of the traditional financial titans, Wall Street, and the major banks are involved. Ondo is a facilitator of this process. It's a major deal. To reiterate what I've already stated, I have a strong suspicion that Ondo will be reconnected with XRP and Ripple, two of the most significant and influential players in the field. And the reason I say that is because even if we go back to only the 5th of June, we have Ondo's Chief Strategy Officer for Finances and APAC Sales,